In a world shrouded in the darkness of tyranny, where truth is often a casualty and ignorance wears a crown, a new dawn is breaking. As the commercial media empires crumble, a courageous network emerges, one fueled by truth, driven by courage, and dedicated to awakening minds. This is not just a podcast. This is a revolution of consciousness. Welcome to the Network of Awareness, a beacon of light cutting through the chaos. Join us as we navigate the tumultuous waters of current events, delve into the intricacies of politics, explore the realms of spirituality, decode the mysteries of health, unravel the complexities of economics, and investigate topics of cultural significance across America and abroad. Prepare for insightful interviews with thought-provoking guests who are inspired to educate you. We are the antidote to misinformation, the remedy for apathy, and the catalyst for change. This is your connection to a network of truth, courage, and awareness. Tune in, open your mind, and join the great awakening. I am your host, ORRA, the informationalist, guiding you through this journey of awareness. Welcome to the Network of Awareness podcast radio station.
My aura is a network full of awareness and gifts like ORRA, the informationalist, the informationalist, the informationalist, the informationalist.
The content of this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, financial, or other professional advice. The views expressed in this podcast are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or positions of the Network of Awareness's producers, subsidiaries, entities, or any other associated parties.
Welcome to the Network of Awareness, people. I'm your host, ORRA, the informationalist. And shout outs to all the Network of Awareness and people that follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, as well as all the podcasting platforms where podcasts are played. And of course, for those that are, downloading or getting access to our shows on TikTok, Instagram, and everywhere else on social media. So people, I want to bring out this very thought-provoking show. Especially, I consider it to be a very spiritual show because a while back I made a decision that I'm going to do a show on we are all an extension to that which is and all that is. And this is another series of we are extensions of all that is. And I have my guest Scarlet that I'm going to be bringing on to the show. For many of you know that she's the Intuitive Medium. And we're going to have a discussion on how we are an extension of all that is. And today's show is basically beyond the material, unveiling our multidimensional existence, right? And Scarlet and I are going to go on a cosmic journey. And in this episode, we're going to unravel the extraordinary idea that our existence extends far beyond the tangible world. We're going to explore the profound notion that our spirits are not confined to the material constraints of this third dimensional reality, but are intricately woven into the cosmic fabric of creation. So join us on this conversation as we dive deep into the exploration of our multidimensional nature. And what does it mean to be more than just flesh and bone? We'll discuss ancient wisdom, modern day philosophy, and cutting-edge science that hints at the vastness of our true essence. As we navigate through this earthly realm, we often encounter moments of transcendence and moments that defy the limitations of the physical world. and we're going to explore the instances and questions whether they offer glimpses into the expansive nature of our being. So now prepare to be challenged by Scarlet and I. And as we challenge the perception of reality, as we discuss the idea that we are not just isolated entities in this three-dimensional space, but rather beings with a spiritual depth that reaches into other dimensions. How does this understanding shape our experiences, relationships, and our place in the universe? So tune in for this thought-provoking discussion that aims to push the boundaries of conventional thinking. We're going to do a lot of critical thinking today. And we're going to invite you to consider the possibilities, which are endless. At our core, we are multidimensional beings navigating this intricate dance of life on this earthly plane. So let's journey into these realms beyond the material and explore the profound mysteries of our existence, shall we? And greetings, Scarlet, and welcome to the Network of Awareness.
Oh, thank you so much, ORRA. It's always a pleasure. I love our conversations. So thank you so much for inviting me back.
Oh, you're more than welcome. And this is our third episode together. So
it is. I know. Time's
and
flying.
Looking forward to many more. I know I took a
Likewise.
break for a while. But I'm back. You know, this is season 6.
Wow.
And this is episode 21. So
You've been a little bit busy.
not just getting back into the swing of things. Yeah.
6
I was busy
episodes.
doing other stuff,
It's amazing.
Now I'm back, putting out more production and doing a lot more. But I'm glad to have you back. And this is not going to be a long show, right? We're going to make it quick. We're going to get straight to the point just because of time constraints and all that.
Right.
But we'll have you back to discuss this further, okay? Because this is a series, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a series, or we are an extension of all that is. As a matter of fact, let me just get that. I think I have, I'll get that ready. I'm going to have to edit something real quick. Let me just put your name in here with Scarlet. But Scarlet, in this episode, right, you're definitely somebody who knows about multidimensional. You're definitely somebody who knows about the spirit realm and about the divine source of all creation, God, whatever people want to call it, the Most High. But this is one of the reasons why I brought you on the show, because you have a lot of knowledge about this. And what's one thing that you can let the listeners know when it comes to spirituality and this multi-dimensional universe we live in?
Mm-hmm.
What's the first thing that comes to mind for you in this discussion?
You know what? That's a great way to start. And to answer that, the first thing I would say is we're not alone. You know, often we walk this life and we think we're alone, right? Because maybe we don't have the tribe or friends or family that we hope, to have. The key is we're not alone. The second thing I really want to say to add to that is we are beyond our worries. We are so much more than our worries and our concerns, and I really hope people take this, what I'm saying, seriously, because these are the two things that can truly cripple us in life, So that's what I got to say about that.
Well, great point. Well, speaking of worry, that is an emotion, right?
Yeah, it is.
And from what I've gathered for quite some time is that these emotions are just part of an experience on this three-dimensional realm, right? In these bodies.
Yes.
Because the true essence of where we come from is nothing but positive, benevolent. Let's not even call it benevolent, but it's at a frequency that we can only begin to understand beyond peace.
Agreed.
And all of this stuff is just an experience for that energy, soul, and that spirit that comes from the divine spirit. But the extension of it is the soul, right? We're all these individual souls.
Exactly.
And we're coming here to have an experience. And some of us keep coming back.
Yes. Over and over and over. And sometimes over and over and over until we get it right. You know, I hate to say that. Like, there's that movie out there, Groundhog Day, with Bill Murray. It's an oldie,
Yeah, I love
and
that
it
movie.
reminds me of that movie. You know, until we get, I'm going to say this tongue in cheek, until we get it right. You know, and you mentioned emotions. You know, sometimes we allow emotions to get the better of us. And really, at the end of the day, emotions are simply there to guide us. Are we moving towards our soul? Are we moving towards our soul's purpose? Or are we moving away from it? You know, and so I always kind of equate it where I use emotions in my practice as like a compass. Oh gosh, I just aged myself. As a GPS for your younger listeners and viewers.
Was you using compasses back in the
I did.
Okay.
I
Okay.
did. Look how old I am. I'm telling you,
That's
I
I
just
think
dated myself.
I think I used them when I was in Boy Scouts. So, yeah.
Right. Oh, I remember my dad teaching me how to use a compass. You know, it was, anyways, I don't, we digress. But now I just told everybody how old I am. So, you know, when you're using your emotions as a GPS, I then bubble, you know, them into two categories. Our emotions. There's emotions that are fear driven, and then there's emotions that are grace driven. And so, in this category of grace, we have things like happiness, joy, content, peace, calm, harmony, tranquility, and the list goes on. But when we look at the fear oriented ones, we have, you know, anxiety, anger, sadness, depression, um, anything yuck feeling, you know, self doubt, self hatred. These are all in that category. And so if you are feeling joy and content, I'm not talking about instant gratification kind of joy and content. I'm talking about content in life, you know, happiness in life, joy in life. Then you know you're moving into the right direction and you're moving towards your soul's purpose. But if you're constantly on a path where you're feeling yuck or self-hatred, self-doubt, what, you know, that list goes on and on. We really need to stop and think, okay, why am I here? What am I doing here? And what do I need to do to move myself back onto the path where I can be content, where I can be in that state of grace? That's what emotions are for.
Well, can you talk a little bit how emotions um when you're feeling those low level emotions, right?
Mhm, mhm,
Let's talk about how it makes you feel physically, because I think a big
mhm.
problem that a lot of people are not grasping, and a lot of it has to do with Western medicine too, because
Yes.
the Western civilization culture is like, if I'm sick, I need to go to the doctor. And I think that a lot more people are starting to realize that self healing, and what I
Mm,
mean by self healing, I'm talking about people taking the responsibility to allow
mhm,
all of the, let's just call them God given heavenly abilities that we already have, and
mhm.
allowing that to cure us of any illness.
Right.
But furthermore, what I've been seeing is that through traditions and belief systems, people look at themselves less than.
Mm,
And there's a fine line where if you're looking at yourself egoically and you're looking at yourself pridefully, that can be a disease too to the body, because you're
mhm.
not vibrating on a high frequency. And that can be
Exactly.
misleading. But also, the people that are thinking themselves less than, looking at themselves like they're no good, or
Mhm,
that they're sinful or wicked, or
mhm,
have something always wrong with them.
mhm,
And
mhm,
that mindset only attracts more of that, to where
mhm,
that is the energy field that resonates. And I'm
mhm.
seeing that in these patterns of human behavior where it's like, wait a second, there we all have these auric fields, and whatever we're feeding it based on our thoughts, that's what
Yes,
it's emanating.
agreed.
That's what it's
You're
emanating.
you're so right, and oh my gosh, what a great top like discussion, and just the fact that you just raised that, I'm so impressed because there is a lot of people out there that have a pattern of not feeling well. And there's a couple of things happening there. So first and foremost, when you're not feeling well, you have to understand that you've got the responsibility to take care of yourself and your body. It is your responsibility. We have been given this vessel. It is a gift from God, and we must cherish that gift, but we're not. And we don't cherish that gift. And often we engage in things like self-hatred or self-doubt, or we feed it. I call it the devil's drug, sugar, and some of these
Oh, I
weak
love that. The
products.
devil's drug is sugar.
I call it the devil's drug because it is the easiest way for the devil to, infest. It really is, because sugar makes you feel great in that moment. But then, I don't know about you, but I get like a hangover with sugar, like for 3 weeks. I just don't feel well. About 30 minutes, an hour later, I don't feel well. So it's not. And, the other thing too, just to add to it, is one of the commandments is thou shalt not kill. Right? Well, why is it okay to kill ourselves? Like, we take that commandment and we think, oh, I shouldn't cause harm to someone else. Right? But that commandment is not just about causing harm to someone else. It's about causing harm to ourselves.
Well,
So,
killing the creation. Killing the
ah,
creation, right? Yeah.
right? This beautiful gift that God has given you, you're killing it, So it's not just about killing someone else. It's about what you're doing to yourself.
Mm.
Now, if you are doing all the right things, and you still feel like you're not feeling well, then you got to really stop and think about what's happening to you energetically. So there is an element of physicality, and then there's an element of energy. And so when we are engaging in things that are causing self-harm, that's that weak spot in the armor that the good old devil wants to come in and infect us. And it's an easy way to take over if you're feeling weak, if you don't feel well, if you don't have the mindset, if you don't have the body set, if you don't have the heart set, if you don't have the soul set. That's an easy way for some kind of an infection to happen. I call it an infection because when you have like lower vibrational, beings that are attacking, you can easily cure that infection by yourself. Now, you also talked about, taking on natural medicine and natural ways versus, modern Western, type of medicine. When one doesn't feel well, if it makes you feel better, because it's a personal choice to go and rule out everything, and go see a doctor and rule everything out, that's responsible. At the end of the day, though, the responsibility lies within ourselves. And you can't go to a doctor and say, heal me, when you are eating garbage daily. You're not treating your body with respect. You energetically are feeding yourself garbage. We take responsibility for the energy we bring into this space, but what about taking responsibility for the energy that we invite into our space? Again, it's one of those things where, going back to that commandment, thou shalt not kill. Well, we bring good energy out because we don't want to cause any harm, but you got to make sure that you're protecting your own energy, your own body. That is number one.
Absolutely. When it comes to like energy, one thing that I'm coming to see in this great awakening that's happening, there's a lot of people being awakened to a lot of truth.
Oh, yes.
Old institutions and the framework behind those institutions, as far as like the things that have been known or to be known as normal, people are starting to realize that all this stuff is not exactly what it is. And
Right.
as we're digging deeper into spirituality as a collective, right? There's a lot of, different concepts of it, because some people deem certain things as witchcraft, some people deem certain things as new age. There's all these different labels. But from what I've been gathering is there's nothing new under the sun. We're just regurgitating something of old. But there's different perceptions of that.
Correct.
Certain perceptions are being skewed, and certain perceptions are actually getting the full understanding of it and what the purpose it is for. But what I've also come to realize is that it doesn't even matter, because in a world of duality, there's always going to be opposing sides.
Yes.
Always. And those perspectives are always opposing. And I don't think that somebody was telling me, I think my friend was telling me today about like this is one of the toughest places to come to as
Yeah,
far as for the soul to want to have an experience throughout
I
this
agree.
vast universe.
Yes.
And when you look at the state, I truly believe I heard a researcher saying that we are very premature in our spiritual evolution as far as sentient beings compared to other creations that the Most High, the God Force, has
Yeah.
created,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
what's special about us, what's very unique about us, is that we have that freedom of will. And I heard that that freedom of will is not in other places. I don't
Mm.
know if that's true. This is what I'm hearing. But
Mhm,
when
mhm.
I hear these things, I start to formulate the idea of what I'm experiencing. I start to go into that examination and then see how that relates to my life. And I could see how that could be true
Mhm.
because there, this fear mongering stuff, I'm
Mhm.
starting to realize it's nothing but control and manipulation.
It is. You're
Hell
so
wasn't even brought into religion until I think the 12, no, what was it, 570 AD? Somewhere
yeah,
around that time.
somewhere around
It
that
was around
time,
that time.
exactly.
And I'll have to bring up the facts about it, because sometimes when I talk about stuff and people be like, "How does he know this?" But this is all documented stuff. But the concept of hell wasn't even really brought in, so you have to
Right.
think about that
Yeah.
because now it's like when the soul leaves the body, based on some of these movies I've been seeing of these people that have been having life and death experiences. I've been seeing it for quite some time.
Mhm.
Based on your perception of your reality while you're living in this body, in that soul,
Mhm.
you're going to experience in the afterlife what it is that you truly perceive to be true.
Right.
And
And
if you're
you
somebody in that low frequency, in that,
exactly.
you're going to get that in the
You're gonna
afterlife.
choose.
But I want you to go deep into this because this is, you do a lot of work
Okay.
as a medium and you get to see
Yes,
a lot of these things with
I
different people
do.
you dealt with, but also in your personal life, right?
Yeah. I gotta
So,
tell you, I'm giggling because I just keep loving the information that you keep bringing out there, Aura, because you speak the truth, and you really stimulate the mind and you really stimulate conversation. So to answer, and to add to what you're saying, you're right. We have free will. We have choice. And when it comes time for us to meet our maker, as some people say, we have chosen where are we going to go? There's one of three places that we can go. We can go to heaven, we can go to purgatory, right? And we can go to hell, right? And we choose. And we choose by the way that we decide to live our everyday life. Now, to backtrack because you said so much important stuff there.
I know
You
I
were
always
saying,
load up the
yeah, I
stuff. I
love
load
it.
it up.
I love it. And you were saying something about perception, fear mongers, how they're taking information and people are, they twist it, right? And so what we got to remember is the history. We got to remember and we got to respect that history. We also have to respect the worship. And everything else is kind of like broken telephone because these scriptures were written how many years ago? And then, they tell two friends and they tell two friends and so on and so on and so on. Now, we're lucky that we have a scripture to go back to. But nevertheless, someone reads it and it's all about perception, right? And we want to believe that there are good souled, spirits out there who want to do good with the interpretation. Their intent is perfect. Sometimes their delivery might not always be. But there are going to be people out there that are going to take that scripture and twist it and turn it to their advantage.
Well,
Okay.
also too, what I was thinking, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I was
No, please
thinking when
do.
it comes to scriptures,
Hmm.
there's a lot. There's a
Yeah,
vast library that we don't even have access. I always say it's a
exactly.
high effect where our level of information as far as literary is about this much to the
Right,
common man or woman, like as a pie, like it's about that
right,
much out of the pie. And there's a
right,
whole lot. I mean, there's a library in Tibet. The Library of
right,
Alexandria was burnt down and they took a
right.
lot of stuff that's hidden in the Vatican. I mean, that is when it comes to literature, it's endless. It's almost like the universe. That's how much literature is out here, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's kind of it. it's interesting how we're only getting a bit and pieces of that literature, and we're supposed to know what the truth is.
It's so true. I was
And
having
when the
I
truth is sitting right in this body of
right.
everything that is and ever will be is all
Yeah,
encompassed in the DNA.
it
As the
is.
library, we are the walking library
We
of
really are
information
if we
of the
just pay
universe.
attention. If we
Right.
really just stop to pay attention. I love every religion, and I find I have such respect for spirituality from
I
all
do too.
different
Except
cultures.
Satanism. I really can't respect
Hey, that's a
Satanism.
different story. That's not religion in my opinion, but I guess for some people it is.
It
But
is,
you're
yeah.
right, and I'm glad that you said that because
Right.
I don't have respect for that. But I do have so much respect for the different religions that are out there, the history, how rich it is in history of that particular culture, and it really tells a story of days that we don't know anything about. So I really love that. And I was having a discussion with a good friend of mine who he's got this incredible mindset around it. He was saying that in his experience, when you look at religion all around the world, doesn't matter whose religion we're looking at, which culture we're observing, everybody has a puzzle piece that makes sense. And when you pay attention to that puzzle piece and you add it with the puzzle piece that we know and another puzzle piece and we put it together, we start getting some answers about
And,
this beautiful world of ours.
and we all go
And
into the
I find
same
that
place.
fascinating.
Yeah, they're all going to the
Right.
same place. You put them all together and they're all leading to the same
Right.
place.
Right. It's all intertwined. It is this incredible, beautiful spiritual jigsaw puzzle. The other thing that I found quite interesting is in every religion, you see Jesus show up somewhere. He's always he's in there somewhere. And I find it so absolutely fascinating. So, it's a big spiritual jigsaw puzzle. The thing that I really want to caution everyone is, take things with a grain of salt because the scripture and how man has gone about telling that story is almost like broken telephone, and it's an interpretation of an interpretation and so it becomes all about perspective. So is there good and bad? Okay, there is good and bad. It's also about intention because you got a lot of good people out there that might be making mistakes, but their intention is perfect. Can you put that person in the same category as someone who is deliberately out there causing harm and working for the other forces? Right? Yeah. It's just one of those things where we really need to stop and discern. In order for us to stop and discern, though, you said an interesting thing earlier, and that's about taking care of, as I call it, the machine or the vessel. We got to take care of that in order to have that clarity of mind, in order to have that clarity of body, in order to have that clarity of heart, and in order to have that clarity of soul. This is how we're able to discern, right? And that is so important. It becomes difficult to discern if you don't feel well.
Absolutely. I had a thought that came to mind where
Mhm.
our thoughts are very powerful in
Mm.
the sense that it's going to draw in things will be manifested from whatever it is we're thinking about and we're drawing into us. Things are going to just happen that you're thinking about. And
Mhm.
what's interesting about the broken telephone, right?
Mhm,
That's a
mhm.
game, right? That's a game.
Yeah.
So I didn't know really about that game. I never knew about it. But this just happened to me about let's say about 6 months ago.
Mhm, mhm,
um I went to go work for this company, and we was having this like I guess it was the company wide one day a month gathering. It's like a little morning breakfast and things are discussed and games are played and all that, and they got a bunch of food. Now I'm thinking about everything you just said. These are thoughts that are going through my mind
mhm,
about how all these different interpretations and about all these different books that were specifically selected
mhm,
um, during the council, what I thought was Council of Nicaea, but now I got to look into this Council of Carthage.
mhm,
But I'm
mhm,
thinking about all this stuff, right? And then all of a sudden, my manager at the time decides he's not prepared for this presentation that everybody else did. So he's like, we're going to play a game, that broken telephone. And he wrote something on a piece of paper,
Oh my
and
goodness.
then he said it to the first person. So it was one person at each table. I think it was 9 tables altogether. So he wrote it down, and the person
Mhm,
read it, and then
mhm.
they had to whisper it into the other person's ear, and so on and so forth until it came full circle. Well, guess
Right.
what? What he wrote down, it was one sentence.
Right.
One sentence. I have to emphasize that. One little quick, I don't even know, 7 words, if that.
Right. Right.
By the time it got back, it was like some mumbo jumbo that they were gibbering. That
Isn't
had
it
nothing to
incredible?
do, almost nothing remotely close to what was written.
Right.
And I was just like, I always say that the Most High, the God force, always is like speaking to me through my experiences. And
Yes,
it's like, here I
indeed.
am asking, kind of like not even really asking, but asking in a way where I'm working through my thoughts and
Right.
what I'm feeling
Yeah.
and trying to figure things out for myself and what I'm experiencing in my life currently, like I always
Yes.
do.
Yeah.
And then that sign was just to reconfirm. I call it constant confirmations. You
It
and I are gonna
is.
have to do a
Yes.
show. I got a whole thing with constant confirmations, something
Ooh,
me and my friend used to do. And
so
we used
much
to
fun.
say, when something happens, that's that constant confirmation, right? But
Yes.
um, I had a constant confirmation that everything I was thinking was like letting me know, like, I'm teaching you a lesson right now. That
Exactly.
a lot of this history
Yes.
has gone in that very manner. Like you said, the broken
Yes.
telephone. It's like
Yes.
different translations. I mean, damn, the English language has already been proven to be a language of spells, of
Right.
spelling,
Exactly.
purposely.
On purpose. Can you
And it's not a
imagine?
coincidence that everybody around the world speaks it. And
Yep.
if you don't speak it, you're looked at as somebody that's like wicked. Like you need to.
Exactly.
You're in America. You need to learn how to speak English. We don't
Exactly.
speak a Spanish here, or whatever other language, whether it's some type of African dialect, right?
Yeah.
Which to me, a lot of Africans are their mind is they know how to speak like 7, 8, 10 different languages on a norm.
Yep.
And we over here like with this broken down, very some people call it a bastardized language.
Yeah. Yep.
Purposefully, right? Because we're all in
Mhm.
this matrix and everything is being done systematically, and we're starting to wake up to these things. Things are
Exactly.
being brought out for us to start being conscious of how we think, how we
Yes.
speak, how we move, and who we truly are individually, but also collectively. Like, because we're not really individuals. We're extensions as individuals, but
Exactly.
of a collective force
Exactly.
that's experiencing everything through our experience, but it's not even ours. We're
So
borrowing it.
true.
We're just a process of elimination when it comes to the food chain of spirituality. You
Look
got
at the
your
food chain.
animals, you got the birds, you got
Yeah.
the trees, the plants, everything that's biologically alive that
Yeah.
has some form of consciousness in it is
Agreed.
part of this.
Agreed.
And I know I'm going off in a whole different tangent, but I'm gonna bring it back.
But do it.
Is this. But
It's
it's this.
important.
Is what you were talking about the broken telephone.
Mhm.
Um, in your experiences, what's one thing? Because I know we said we got about we got some more time, but in your experiences, let's talk about energy and
Mhm.
how you interpret it,
Mhm.
because I want the people to get an understanding when it comes to these multi dimensions.
Right.
A lot of quantum physics talks about it, but I want to get your perspective on it when it comes to
Right.
multi dimensions, where it's like things like you can see things happening
Mhm.
that maybe a cat can see, but
Right.
the 5 sense normal human being that's operating on 5 senses is not really going to that 6th sense to be able to sense and witness certain things. Can you talk a
Mhm.
little bit about that?
I
About
would
these
be
multi dimensions?
I would be glad to. You're absolutely right. And then there's times where the cat will see things that I don't see. Now, you called us five senses, right? And of course, the sixth sense being this one where we can see things that are beyond what appears to be physical. I firmly believe that as human beings, we were built to have six, maybe even more senses. But
Absolutely.
there's been a time where that sixth sense, because it's not tangible, has been shut down, and we've kicked into this logical type world. When it
Mm.
comes to seeing certain things, I see a lot, I hear a lot. Some are the things that I don't mind seeing, and there are things that I don't want to see. Whether we like it or not, we live in this world that has goodness and evil. And I hate to sound like a drama queen, by saying something like that, like evil, but it does exist. And so when we are delving into some of this self-help stuff, or some spell work, or when we delve into channeling and things like that, we've got to be very, very mindful of how we're doing it and how we're protecting our space, because if you don't, we invite the things that we don't want to see. Now, when it comes to that, I can go on and on and on about what we see, because I see things like ego attached to someone. I see loved ones on the other side. I see angels. I see their future. I see like I go to a place and I see it's like a weird nothingness. It's a strange and interesting place.
Can you
We see
give a description of ego?
hauntings.
I'm sorry. Can you give a
Yeah,
description? The first one you said. You said you see ego attached to people. Can
yeah, I
you
do.
give the audience a visual of what that looks like in your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy when I see it. It doesn't alarm me anymore. It used to. How do I explain it? The way that I see it, because other people would, that do the same work I do, might see things differently. But in my experience, I see it like an SOS pad. Like those type of steel wool things that you use in the kitchen.
Oh, okay. Like a
Yeah, and
Brillo pad. A Brillo pad.
yeah, like and it's just it's a ball of like metal, right? I see it like that, but opened up. In other words, it's cloudy and it's electric, and it's just like this weird. And I see it like a ball maybe about this big, and it's stuck to the left side of their head. Why is it stuck on the left side of their head? I don't know. My interpretation is energy enters on the most part through, the left side, and
Mm.
exits through the right side. So that's my thought, like why I see it that way. But ego is very much, in my opinion, an attachment, and it is one of the first of the attempts of the negative, lower vibrational, demonic, whatever you want to call it, attempts to take over. They start very small, and when that gets exhausted, they move on to something larger. I have seen things that are larger. I have seen creatures walking with people with addictions, whether we like it or not. Addictions, not on the most part, they become attachments. It's not how we're supposed to be living. But the way that, it's easy to get rid of, though. I'm talking about some of the things that I see. I don't want to scare people out there, because if you have these types of attachments, it's so stupid easy to get rid of. It really is. And at the end of the day, it starts with a choice. It
Mm.
starts with a choice to just take better care of you. That's it. But what more do you want to know about what I see? Because I see so many things. Like when it comes to hauntings, I always joke with people that Aura, you and I are sitting at home right now while we're doing this. For all you and I know, we're sitting in someone's living room and we're freaking the heck out of them because we're in a different time era, or different, universal bubble, or whatever they want to call it. And we could be haunting someone right now and we wouldn't know. Like we always look at, the hauntings that happen in
No,
our homes, right?
no,
But what
just
about,
based on what you what you said, based on
right?
that, it's like I don't think somebody who's watching this or is going to watch this is gonna choose to watch this. I can tell you that right off the bat. So
Mhm.
anybody who is gonna be listening to this conversation wants to listen to this, right? That's what I think, because from when I first wanted to do my podcast, I suffer from
Mhm.
self-doubt a lot. That's something
Yes.
I've struggled with, that I
Yeah.
still struggle with to this day. As
Yes.
much as I've overcome it, it still lingers. And
100%.
sometimes it comes at the most unexpected times
Yes.
of when I'm motivated to do something and I'm really gun ho about it, and then that little self-doubt comes in, right? But you gotta
Yeah,
fight it.
and just it's no different than, the cartoons used to depict. We have an angel on the shoulder and the devil on the shoulder, right? You have a white light worker whispering in your ear, and you have a dark light worker whispering in your ear. And I see that. What I do want to say to people is this: luckily and thankfully, I would say 98% of what's out there is goodness. They really want to guide us. They really want to be there for us. We need to make that decision, though. We really do. And right now, more than ever, I'm noticing that darkness is getting louder, like the devil is yelling, wanting attention. But white light and goodness is starting to prevail. So we just have to stick to it.
Right.
And what you're talking about sometimes is a habit, like that self-doubt. Let's not forget, in by quietly self-doubting yourself, you're slowly causing harm and therefore killing yourself. I know it sounds dramatic,
No, you're right. You're
but
absolutely
we
right.
really, and sometimes it's a bad habit, and sometimes it's an infection of lower vibration, and we have to really, really be careful. uh, Whether it is an infestation or infection of something negative, or it's just a bad habit, we get rid of them both the same way, and that is just by a simple choice to say, I'm not going there, I'm going to go over here. This is the life I want to live. And then you talk to your angels and your guides and you say, guide me, show me how to get there.
And that's another thing. It's all based on perception, right? Because some
Oh,
people, they may think that's a bunch of mumbo jumbo, and
oh,
that's okay. Because at the
it
end
is
of the
okay.
day, everybody, no, what I'll tell you is this, is everybody has a certain perception of their reality. And
Yes,
based on that perception is going to determine on how far they go and what they get
agreed,
to experience. See,
agreed.
I don't think that I used to think that we were all meant to have a very positive experience. But as I see
Agreed.
the world today, I'm like, maybe some people really came here to be those egotistical, prideful, negative beings,
Yes,
controlling beings, and that's their purpose that they're serving.
that is their choice.
Because,
Exactly.
and that's the choice, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, things like that constant confirmation I was talking about earlier, that is
Mhm.
constantly being revealed to us every single moment of our
Exactly.
lives.
Exactly.
Everybody's getting a message. Everybody, that what do they call it? A download, a sign, an epiphany, whatever it is. Those things are constantly happening based on the choices we're making, and it's guiding us depending on where we're at. Is guiding us to a better place all the
Right,
time, really. But at the
right.
same time, if we ignore it, I'll give you an example, and this might be a little. I hope people understand where I'm coming from. I have a friend who suffers from a lot of addiction. We don't really hang out at all anymore, but I did see him recently. And when I
Mhm.
saw him recently, I was with another friend of mine that I've been friends with for over 27 years.
Mhm,
I mean,
mhm,
probably one of the most spiritual people I've known in my life, and
mhm,
has been just been a good friend.
mhm.
And um I was hanging out with the friend, and he came through for a little while. And I could tell that he was off. Like I could see how the addiction of the drug is slowly but surely kind of deteriorating him.
What a
And it was
shame.
painful to see. And what I
Mhm,
mean by deteriorate him, he doesn't look horrible or anything like that.
mhm,
But I
mhm,
could
mhm.
just see in his spirit that there's a lot of chaos
Mhm, mhm.
and a lot of just tension, right? But hey,
Yes.
he's still my friend, and he was showing me, and this is what I was leading to. He was showing me a picture of a friend of his. Now, this friend just recently died about 2 months prior on a
Mhm.
motorcycle I think on I-4 somewhere, or 275. He died on impact. He was going so fast that when he flew off the motorcycle, he died once he hit the ground. So I'm hearing this, and I'm like, wow. So he still got his motorcycle, and I'm like, bro, I thought you got rid of that. I thought
Right.
you've been given enough signs that, and in the state of Florida too, by the way, because I was an insurance broker for some years here. In the state of Florida, if you get on a motorcycle, right, you have, I think, about a 70 or 60% chance of dying
Oh my gosh,
automatically from buying the motorcycle
that's incredible.
because of the way traffic is out here,
Right, right,
and
right,
people
right.
are all dying on. This is like the second or no, this is the third highest state in the
Mhm, mhm.
country for motor vehicle fatality and accidents, behind California and Georgia. But anyway, the friend he told me that died on a motorcycle, right? He shows me a picture of him. And the picture, he's got nothing but gold grills on, right?
Oh my
Got a
god.
bunch of gold grills, got tattoos, the bald head with the earrings, and young, good-looking guy, right? I
Right,
think he was in his early 30s. Yeah,
right,
I
right.
think he was in his early 30s. And he's like this with his tongue. Oh no, he's like this with his finger. He's got his middle
Oh boy.
finger up, and he's like this with his grilled teeth. And it's like, as I looked at the picture, and then he told me how he died, it's like I could see where in that picture I could
Yes.
see not, and I don't want to be insensitive to say this is why
No,
he,
agreed. I understand where you're going with this.
but I could see the energy and how he was living his life at that in that picture, and now he's dead.
Correct.
And it was hitting me, and I looked at him, and I'm like, I'm telling him, I'm hoping that your friend's death and life is a good, like, get your, get your crap together and
Inspiration,
change your ways,
exactly. Exactly,
because
and I hope it is
you
too.
heading down the same path type of thing, right?
Yeah. You
Very
know,
intense, very
if I
intense.
can't tell you, oh my gosh, because if I open it up, we'll be here for another hour. You have no idea how accurate you are, Aura, in what you're saying about the energy of this individual and how his life ended. You are absolutely 300% correct. And maybe that'll be another conversation for another
Yeah,
day.
we're gonna have you come back anyway, but
Honest to goodness,
we still got about 10 minutes,
we
10 or
got
15 minutes, so
and I love it. Now, one thing, you're talking about perception, you're talking about energy and things like that. And that negative energy and those types of infections and possessions, there's three different types of, as I call them, infections. There is, oppression, there is obsession, and then there is possession, right? And these are all signs that you need to get help. So, oppression is, health. Where you're not feeling well, or you're having financial problems, or you're having financial or challenges in relationships. That's oppression. Then the next stage is obsession. These are the addictions, and that type of energy that you're talking about could be between an obsession and an actual possession, and they're living in this negative state of a weird kind of rebellion. And
yes, yes.
it's not now. We talk about the work that I do and the work that you do, and how some people could deem it to be that of witchcraft, or they label it,
Right.
as, oh my gosh, yeah, like witchy ways, or whatever. In my strong opinion, like, that's a comment that needs to be really taken a look at and said with responsibility. Because at the end of the day, it boils down to an individual's intention. When I go to do work, there is a lot of work that I do behind the scenes to protect my space, to protect my vessel, to protect the individual that I'm in. I pray a lot in a day. And when I sit down to be of service to someone in a reading, I always say a prayer to the good Lord to say, may the work that I do be pleasing to you. It is your work. You work through me. Like, you send me the messages. There is such responsibility, but I got to protect the space. There's a lot of people that don't know what they're doing. And by not knowing what they're doing, they open doors and portals to worlds that they shouldn't be opening. And they don't know what to do when they are open. And they don't know where to seek help when they're open. And this is why You see religion protecting this type of work and saying, you know what, it is only going to be for certain types of priests or pastors or certain individuals of the church, because there's an education that goes behind doing that kind of work. Otherwise, there's all kinds of doors and portals and infections that can happen very accidentally. Like this poor soul that ended up passing away from a motor vehicle accident. I am certain they weren't born and said, I can't wait to open doors and portals that I shouldn't be opening, and then having a specific type of life. That's not what the intention was. But somehow it happened to this poor soul and they succumbed to it. So, there's a lot of responsibility when we're working with the energies that are out there. And when we do go to visit other places, there's a lot of work, a lot of education, a lot of responsibility that goes with it. And it should be treated as such and not just deemed to be evil.
Wrapping things
Witchcraft.
up. I think we said a lot. And of course, I could talk to you much longer. And we're going to have you come back anyway. But any final comments in regards to we are an extension of all that is?
Yeah. I'm just going to circle back to how we opened this show. You are not alone, and you are so much more than your worries.
Very well said.
Right back to it.
Very well said. And the other thing I want to say before we end too is that most people can't do the work you do. Let's just be honest. You got into the work you did because of your childhood and things that were revealed to you and what you got into. It's not like you really wanted to, but you understood that this was part of your path in life, just like many others like you, right?
Agreed.
That's what I hear. It's like, it's not so much I wanted these. I didn't want to see spirits. I didn't want to hear these
I don't
things.
want this.
But there's a reason. Everything happens for a reason, and that reason's there to serve you. Everybody's going to have different perceptions, but one thing that is true is that we live in an environment we put it like this: the earth is already in space. We live in infinite possibility.
Yes.
We come from that.
Yes.
We come from, and we can only begin to understand that. But one thing I will say is that what everybody should do, if they want to live the life that they was meant, they have to look from within. That kingdom of heaven that Christ talks about, I think people really don't understand what that means.
Yes.
They hear it, but they're not really grasping the concept of what the one that was called the Anointed One was trying to explain to people.
You're so
and
right.
why he was doing it, because of what he was doing for himself that was going to benefit others. Because it's not really about the self, but the self has to get to a certain level to where it goes back to that infinite source, if that's something you want to do. Some people don't. Some people want to keep going through the cycles, and that's okay too. Because at the end of the day, this is just an experience for the soul to have.
Agreed.
And hopefully most of us are making the most of that experience, but we can only go from within to find out what is true and what is not.
Yeah,
right? Everything's always being revealed to us. So I want to thank you. I'm going to have you come back to the show.
I look forward to it.
Much more to discuss. And with that being said, just stick around for a moment. I'm going to just do a quick outro. And ladies and gentlemen, you know what I'm saying? All the brothers and sisters and all the network of awareness, Scarlet. Yay. Always like
thank you. Oh my God, I really appreciate the opportunity to be on your show and have great conversations as always. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, just hold on for one moment, Scarlet. So people, as always, when you live in the present, there's always an opportunity for a new beginning. So start your new beginning. And don't look for the light at the end of the tunnel, because the light is and always will be within you. So light up the tunnel and find your way through the darkness. This is already information saying peace, love, light, and all praises to the Most High. May the force of the Most High always be with you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Network of Awareness. If you would like to join or find out more about our show, please subscribe and follow us at networkofawareness.com or your favorite podcast listening platforms. If you would like for us to discuss any specific topic you would like to listen to, leave us a message on our website, or you can directly email us at ORRA@networkofawareness.com. Now, tune in to one of the fastest growing podcast shows on social, spiritual, and self-awareness. With that being said, people, living in the present, being directed by what's given in the hour-long sessions, mind-blowing confessions of improvement that needs checking. Welcome in all ears. Tune in now. Peace and blessings. Bless.